Absolutely buckle up, you guys. I am going to explain the horrific federal lawsuit brought last week by the male attorney generals of Missouri, Kansas, and Idaho. Let's get into it. First, you need to understand how we got here. So you may or may not know that last term, the Supreme Court heard a case brought by a group of anti-choice doctors who were trying to get mifepristone, a really common abortion medication, off the market for all women throughout the United States. The anti-choice emergency room doctors said that they were personally harmed by mifepristone being on the market because a woman could take mifepristone and hypothetically have complications with it, come into the emergency room, and they would have to help her, and they would be personally harmed by that because they would not want to help her because they wouldn't want to be complicit in her abortion. As if emergency room doctors get to pick and choose who they treat based on what led them into the emergency room. Anyways, they purposely filed suit in the District of Amarillo so that they could put the case in front of this anti-choice judge. Judge Matthew Kacsmaryk here was like, yeah, you guys are really onto something. And he, in his individual, infinite scientific medical wisdom, decided that the FDA was wrong. And this actually, and all of the other medical research on this drug, everybody's wrong, and it's actually not safe for women. And he also relied on a law from the 1800s that prohibited mailing abortifacients through the mail. And he said that we should apply that to women trying to get mifepristone today. The case went up to the Fifth Circuit, who agreed with Judge Kacsmaryk, and then in a concurrence, Judge Ho here was like, I'm actually going to take this a step further. I believe that doctors suffer an aesthetic injury when they view ultrasounds and develop an attachment to the fetus, and then a woman gets an abortion because the doctors really wanted to see this grow into a baby and they got really attached to it. I can't make this stuff up. Then it made its way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court was hesitant to take mifepristone off the market right before an election because they knew of the impact that that would have on the election. They threw the case out on a procedural ground, not on the merits. They didn't really say anything about medication abortion. They just said that it was the wrong plaintiffs bringing the lawsuit, and they threw the lawsuit out. We got a lot of headlines like this that made the public believe that the Supreme Court had done something that was in favor of medication abortion when they really didn't do that at all. It had gotten thrown out on a procedural ground. If anything, they basically wrote an opinion that was like, these are the wrong plaintiffs, and if you wanted to succeed in this lawsuit, here's how you could do so, which leads us to where we are now. So last week, instead of a group of anti-choice doctors bringing this lawsuit, these three attorney generals from Missouri, Kansas, and Idaho have basically refiled the suit. They say they are the right plaintiffs to bring this lawsuit because they have a duty to protect women and girls by forcing us to carry unwanted pregnancies. Even though they're in Missouri, Kansas, and Idaho, they filed it in the city of Amarillo, Texas, so that they can be in this guy's court. They're also saying the FDA screwed up, we're right, they're wrong, mifepristone isn't safe, and they're asking the court, among other things, to make mifepristone unavailable to anyone after 7 weeks of pregnancy, where most people don't even know that they're pregnant, require 3 in-person appointments, no longer allow anyone to receive it through telemedicine, which is currently how 1 in 5 patients get it. This is because they have enacted total abortion ban states, so they know that some women in their states are still receiving medication abortion through the mail, and they want to make sure that the women in their states who become pregnant all give birth, that they are basically trapped in the states. A lot of these anti-choice states have also been trying to find ways to prohibit women from traveling out of state to get an abortion for the same reason. They want to trap women in these states. But don't forget that if they succeeded at this lawsuit, it would affect women nationwide, not just women in Missouri, Idaho, and Kansas. They wanted to leave it up to the states, remember? Let's also be clear that mifepristone is safer than Tylenol and it is safer than Viagra. It is far safer than forcing women and girls, literal children, to continue pregnancies against their will. So their goal is to just boop, boop, up to the Supreme Court, who after the election may be more palatable to restricting access to abortion medication nationwide. And trust me, they're going to try to gaslight everybody. They're going to say, oh no, we're not trying to take mifepristone out on the market. We're just putting in common sense restriction or language like that. 3 in-person appointments, and you have to do it before you're 7 weeks pregnant. No one is going to be able to do that. No one will be able to access mifepristone. There is so much more to say about this. The complaint was honestly one of the most disgusting things that I have ever read, but this is already 4.5 minutes, so we're going to take a pause here. Let me know what questions you have in the comments and if you want to learn more. And I'm the Feminist Lawyer. Follow me if you enjoy being miserable.